Good afternoon and a warm welcome to the Santam Women of the Future Awards in association with FAIRLADY and TRUELOVE. To our incredible Women of the Future finalists, our judges, our studio guests, and every guest who will be joining us via live stream, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Doreen Morris, and it's my honor and pleasure to serve you today as your program director. Now, as excited as we all are about this award ceremony, we believe that we would be remiss if we failed to acknowledge the friends, the relatives, the colleagues, and the loved ones that we lost during this pandemic. In addition to our personal loss, we were connected in our collective grief as we mourned the loss of people like Les the Chef, Dr. Cindy van Zyl, Karima Brown, Nadia Gutham, Jabu Mabuza, Kehlam Tembo, Peter Matlare, Charlene Sirty Richards, Shauna Ferguson, and that list just goes on. So I would like to call for a moment's reflection as we honor and celebrate the lives and the legacies of everyone that we lost. Thank you so much. Now, last year, I emphasized the role of women leaders during this pandemic, that women-led countries had a 6 times lower death rate than those led by their male counterparts. A year later, those statistics are still true. But today, I want to highlight another achievement led by a woman during this pandemic, that of Dr. Kati Karika. Is anyone familiar with that name? Now, she was the daughter of a butcher, and she left Hungary in her early 20s. She was accompanied by her husband and a 2-year-old daughter. She was only allowed to take $100 out of the country, so she sewed $1,200 into her daughter's teddy bear. Upon arrival in the US, she really had to hustle. She literally had to beg professors just for a seat on the bench in somebody's lab, but she was focused on her research. She kept applying for grants unsuccessfully, and for 20 years. Her husband joked that she was working for fun because she was earning less than $1 per hour. And when she told other scientists what she was working on, they would literally laugh her out of the room because they couldn't even understand the questions that she was getting answers to already. Her articles went largely unpublished, and it was only 20 years later when she partnered with another doctor, Dr. Wiseman, who started writing grant proposals together with her, that Kati's research was first noticed by Pfizer and Moderna. Now, those are 2 names that we recall, right? They took notice and they started supporting her research. But for 40 years, her work was largely forgotten. Fast forward to 2020, a world in lockdown and utter despair. We were fighting each other for toilet paper and sanitizer, remember? And locally, we were exchanging recipes for banana bread and pineapple beer. And it was then that Big Pharma remembered her work. At that time, the Chinese scientists published the genetic sequence for the virus that was ravaging Wuhan at that time. And the world went to work. Moderna designed the vaccine in 2 days. Pfizer Biotech took a few hours, but both had used the groundbreaking work that Dr. Karika had developed over 40 years. And this wasn't the end of the process. There was important work to be done, like the arduous testing process around the world that South Africa participated in as well. But truth be told, our world would be a very different place, and we probably wouldn't be sitting here without masks, most of us today, had it not been for the lifelong commitment of a woman called Kati Karika. When she received the successful results for the Pfizer vaccines on the 8th of November, she celebrated by eating a whole packet of chocolate-coated peanuts all by herself. And on the 18th of December, as the medical staff at her university in Pennsylvania lined up to receive the very first jabs of the vaccine, somebody announced that the person who made this vaccine possible was present in the room. Everyone applauded, and for the first time, Kati broke down in tears. The known world has quite possibly been saved by the commitment and efforts of a woman called Kati Karika. Kati gave us hope, and our own Nomgebo, together with Master KG, gave the world Jerusalema, the anthem that kept our spirits up. Women do 70% of all work, paid and unpaid, in this world. Women constitute 70% of our frontline workers. Women produce 50% of the world's food, and women receive 10% of the remuneration. So please indulge me if I suggest for a moment that all women are actually frontline workers. And I'm here today to celebrate you for holding it down on the front lines in healthcare, on the front lines of your respective industries, and on the front lines of your homes. And to the 9 finalists in the Santam Women of the Future Awards in association with FAIRLADY and TRUELOVE, you not only survived, you thrived, and we are here for all of it. Let's give them a warm round of applause. Santam have joined us to recognize, celebrate, and affirm the top women entrepreneurs for the 7th year. With their partnership, many of the previous winners and finalists have been recognized and awarded locally and internationally and have grown their business through the networks that these awards provide. Santam has been in the business of protecting South Africa's most important assets and valuables for 103 years now. So Santam understands that running a successful business takes years of hard work and the right partnerships. And when you work hard to succeed, you need good and proper insurance that helps you to thrive. No matter what type and size your business is or your vision for it, you can rely on Santam's in-depth expertise to protect it. Last year, I mentioned that Santam had survived 2 major world wars, the Great Depression, the first man on the moon, the industrial and digital revolutions. Now, in the throes of its 3rd pandemic and the advent of the 4th industrial revolution, we thank you, Santam, for continuing to support female entrepreneurs, and we thank you for your continued commitment to our country, South Africa. A special thank you to Mokaedi Dilotsotle, Chief Marketing Officer of Santam, for your continued faith in these awards, and thank you for supporting female entrepreneurs in our country. We also want to thank African Extracts, beauty sponsor of the awards. Women are at the very heart of this proudly South African brand and company. They salute the women of South Africa for their drive, their passion, their commitment to making a difference in our country. We want to thank our prize sponsors. They are American Swiss Fine Jewelers, Get Smarter, Lithotech, Samsonite, Zemp, and Over the Rainbow. Thank you for supporting our winners with these incredible prizes. And thank you to Bosch & Dell for coming on board each year to ensure that our reception and lunch is absolutely magnificent. Bosch & Dell too believe in the potential for prosperity brought about by empowering women. A special word of welcome and thanks I would like to extend to our esteemed panel of judges. Up first is a woman who is a very epitome of courage and leadership. She's the chair for social justice at Stellenbosch University. She is the founder of the Social Justice M-Plan and the Tuma Foundation, amongst all of her other accolades. She also recently summited Kilimanjaro once again. She's a proud grandmother of a 3-year-old, Melo, who her partner refers to as Melo 3, and she has recently ventured into the publishing business, and she's co-authored a book called Melo's Kingdom. Please, let's hear it for Thuli Madonsela. Our next judge has devoted a considerable skill set to developing human capital, specifically creating opportunities for women. She has 2 children. She runs 2 companies, and she holds down a full-time job. Please meet Master Hustler, Juggler, Group Executive Head of Human Resources at Santam. She is Enid Lizamore. Our next judge, you know from Shark Tank. She has a 15-year-old son, Daniel, who hails from Kazakhstan. The family adopted him when he was only 4 months old, and she describes him as the center of a whole world, and she's really blessed to be his mom. She also once took a ride in the back of a police van in Umlazi. Why, you may ask? She was hustling to rent cars at the airport. I think that's such a cool story for your CV. From social entrepreneur and professional speaker, Dawn Nathan-Jones. Up next, You all know this multi-award-winning journalist with over 15 years extensive experience in the media industry. She's also, did you know that she's married to a farmer and a winemaker, and that their cellar produces the most delicious MCC in the valley? Please welcome True Love editor Makosazana Kosi Zwani Siguqa. At the helm of FAIRLADY for over 15 years now, she's a nerdy fan of TV quiz shows like University Challenge. I'm sure she doesn't even know what Candy Crush is because she's never played a single computer game in her life. She was supposed to study economics, but she changed her mind literally the night before classes were due to start, and we are all the richer for it. She's the editor of FAIRLADY, Susie Brokenshaw. And oh yes, another thing about Susie, she bakes a mean olive oil cake, and she's had the same best friend for 45 years. And she was taught tarot by a witch, no less. That's enough from me. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Susie Brokenshaw of FAIRLADY.
Thanks so much, Doreen. Thank you, Doreen. And I was going to introduce all the judges, but since you've been comprehensively introduced, I'm just going to carry on. So we might have to scroll on a bit through the auto cue, please. The one person I would like to thank, who hasn't been thanked yet, is Roxanne. And Roxanne Krotlier has been involved with us right from the very beginning. And she's been a crucial part of these awards. She's there right from the first entry to where we are today. So thank you so much, Roxanne. We really appreciate what you do. Okay, but the one thing I would like to say is, isn't it amazing? All these women who were introduced, did you hear how many things they do? So not one of them is just doing one thing. Not one of them is just a professor. Not one of them is just a journalist or a business entrepreneur. They're all doing a million things. It's incredible. What happened to the days when we just had one job? And what I'd like to say to that, waiting for the auto cue to catch up, but it's getting there. What I'd like to say to that is that that's a fallacy. Women have never actually had one job. We've always done more than one thing. We've done so many things. It's a myth. And it's a myth for the simple reason that we understand that we can never be free to make the choices we want to make or we need to make as women until we are financially independent. And that's why FAIRLADY and TRUELOVE stand squarely behind female entrepreneurs, because the only meaningful way to change society for the better, for all of us, that means for all of us, men, women, and children, is for women to become economically viable in their own rights. So congratulations to every single one of you extraordinary women for having the fortitude and courage to get where you are today. You make us all proud. But as Grace Bonney, she's a designer of Design Sponge, says, entrepreneurship isn't always high-fiving and inspirational quotes. Sometimes it's scary and made up of a potent mix of fear and faith. Or as Adam J. Kurtz, author of Things Are What You Make of Them, put it, do what you love, which is what everybody recommends, and you'll work super hard all the time with no separation or any boundaries, and also take everything extremely personally. Something I'm pretty sure most of you can relate to, because being an entrepreneur is exhilarating, but it's also really hard. Maybe it's because it was World Mental Health Day on Monday, but while you're nurturing and growing your brilliant enterprises, I want to remind you to nurture and grow yourselves too. I think there are 3 key ways to do that. Number 1, put your oxygen mask on yourself first. You know in airplanes when they give you the talk about the oxygen mask, they always say, put it on yourself first, then help other people with theirs. If you don't take care of your own needs first, you are in no position to give anything to your business or the other parts of your life. You need to nurture yourselves, not as an afterthought, but as a priority. You need to do the stuff that makes you who you are, whether it's yoga or jogging or making the best olive oil cake in the world or building model airplanes or reading or amateur theatrics or making strawberry jam, whatever it is. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I'd love to have time to myself, but I just can't right now. I will, just as soon as I've got over this hump. As soon as I have a bit more leeway, I'll get to that. But as the Zen Buddhists say, you should sit in meditation for 20 minutes a day, unless you're too busy. Then you should sit for an hour. You have to make yourself a priority, not just for your sanity, but also because it will make you a much more productive and creative entrepreneur, not to mention a happier person. We need you to help build South Africa, not on the back of your labor, but on the strength of your purpose. Number 2, accept that you can't do it all. I know you're a control freak because here you are, so that's a given. But you need to channel director Francis Ford Coppola, who said there are 3 adjectives: good, fast, and cheap. Pick any 2, but you can never have all 3. So if it's good and fast, not going to be cheap. And if it's cheap and fast, it's not going to be good. And if it's cheap and good, it's not going to be fast. You get the idea. You can do everything. You really can have it all, just not all at the same time. So pick 2 and just accept that one will suffer in that situation. Not always, just in that situation. And allow yourself to move on. Be generous with yourselves. Number 3, murder your inner critic. You need to shut that inner voice right down. You know the one I mean. It's the one that says you can't. You're not good enough. You're not clever enough. You're not thin enough. You're not talented enough. This is not Cape Town Shuwa visualizing that I'm talking about here. It's science. There's a well-documented psychological phenomenon called negativity bias, which means your brain is programmed to remember criticism and skip over compliments. Psychologists say we give negativity 7 times as much weight as we do positivity, and that we remember insults far longer than we do praise. If you think about it, you realize that about yourself. That's what you remember. You battle to remember the good things that people have said about you, but you never forget the bad. According to my calculations, that means we're all at least 7 times better than we think we are. 7 times. You are fantastic. So whenever you're feeling exhausted and downhearted, I want you to remind yourselves that women employees in South Africa still earn 72 cents for every rand that male employees do. Plus, since so many households are single-parent households, and guess who that single parent is? Employed women have less opportunity to save than men do. This keeps us economically on the back foot. It keeps us vulnerable. But you, through sheer hard work and steel cojones, have got yourselves out of that situation. Not only yourselves, but all the people you employ and the networks you support. I know I always say this, and it is a slight generalization, and I do apologize, Mokoedi, but I'm always amazed how when women succeed, they uplift the community around them. When men succeed, they build a rocket and hurl themselves into space. As Kosti says, TRUELOVE and FAIRLADY believe that women and women-led organizations are key to sustainable development of countries, and Women of the Future is all about helping to drive that initiative. We're living in unsettled times. They say the only way to predict the future is to create it, and that's what every single one of you is doing. You're creating the future for yourselves, and by extension for all of us and our country. You women are all heroes to me. You're blazing ahead, challenging the world to make it work on your own terms. We owe you not only the deepest respect, but also a debt of gratitude. Congratulations to you all. I now call on our wonderful partner, Enid Lizamore from Santam, to say a few words.
Thank you, Susie, for that wonderfully inspiring little talk. Good afternoon. Being present at an event of this nature and witnessing the amazing work being done by women in our communities is not only an honor and a privilege, but it also makes me so proud to be surrounded by women who, like many, many generations before us, when faced with challenges, calamities, and uncertainty, they chose courage, tenacity, and grit. And they chose to change the course of history, uplift society, and build stepping stones for many generations to come. I'm therefore truly humbled to be here and share this platform with all of you. A year ago, when we gathered to host this event, we were still slowly trying to make sense of how incomparable 2020 was to anything we have experienced before. What we have since come to realize is what we hoped would be something of a temporary invasion in our lives has in fact become a permanent fixture, requiring a higher level of adaptation and survival. Survival is not a new concept for us as a human race. It preceded many revolutions, wars, even plagues, and times of immense change throughout history. What has remained constant, though, is the ingenuity of the human spirit, a spirit which enables us to conquer these perils and ultimately thrive. The characteristics which enabled us then remain true today. Control your fear and panic. Understand as much of your current environment as possible, and then use innovation, intellect, and perseverance to find your way out. Adaptability, openness, learning from failure, resilience, self-discipline, and again, innovation will always remain useful. However, right now, when I encounter the fight for survival that people are encountering, I'm conscious that whilst these characteristics are important in propelling us forward, they are not enough. As we enter the 19th month of physical, psychological, social, and financial trauma, coupled with the removal of freedom as we used to know it, I'm more aware than ever of the emotional burden placed on us. Burnout and PTSD are common and rife, and at any other point in our lives, what we have endured would have warranted a special intervention, facilitated by counseling or psychological support. Now, however, because literally everyone in the world is experiencing the same or similar trauma, it is not unique or special. It is common cause. So what do we need now more than ever before? Not something new, I think. A return to the old. The requirement for nurturing support. We need love, care, and understanding. Not judgment in the face of adversity. So whether you are able to bake artisanal bread or olive cakes, or like me, you battle to get up in the morning and motivate yourself to get through yet another day, Groundhog Day. You are met with care by those around you, not judgment. These characteristics have always been regarded as innately female, and I do agree that we are possibly better suited to it. However, these characteristics are not male or female, they are human. And we as a society have discouraged it in men. Women now need to lead the charge in ensuring that humanity, consideration, and support permeates every facet of our interactions going forward. That it becomes the presiding way in which we as people are able to impact our homes, our communities, our places of work, and ultimately our South Africa. Being conscious of this narrative in South Africa and the roles that we can play and should be playing, I'm proud to be a woman, and I'm proud to belong to an organization that is involved in a purposeful initiative such as this one, where empowering and creating a meaningful impact in South Africa is a top priority. Santam has been involved in the FAIRLADY Women of the Future initiative over the last number of years, and as the leading South African general insurer, we understand that the first 1,000 days of running one's own business are indeed the hardest. Through our support of this competition, we recognize extraordinary women who have made it past the first 1,000 days. Women who are building empires, changing their communities. Women we want to recognize and propel to grow their businesses. We are passionate about upskilling all stakeholders, but particularly women, in the local commercial enterprise space. We see this as one of the foremost ways to catalyze sustainable economic growth in South Africa for generations to come, leaving behind a legacy that we can all be proud of. With that said, let's give our finalists, rising stars, a huge round of applause. Congratulations. Your hard work, courage, and bravery to lead such phenomenal initiatives is inspiring. I'm honored to have listened to your authentic stories and be surrounded by such remarkable, intuitive, passionate women who are changing the world. I'm of the firm belief that it is absolutely essential in the current climate to constantly review your game plan and adapt. It's pivotal to prioritize what's important right now. An entrepreneurial mindset begins with curiosity and a sustained hunger to learn. If we harness this, we can use almost anything to force focus and drive innovation. To strengthen any business, it is important to always look ahead. It's easy to be paralyzed by fear and indecision when surrounded by so much uncertainty. Now is the time to seek stronger, cost-effective alternatives when possible and identify any business gaps or opportunities for iterative innovation and then pursue these. Remaining purpose-led and client-centric is recommended. Right now, many South Africans are struggling. Now is the time to take client centricity to new heights. Refine your customer journey at every touch point. Eliminate pain points and streamline efficiencies. And then, protect what you've built. Make sure your business and your assets are properly insured, and possibly by Santam. After that shameless plug, consider how this impacts your personal and your business cover needs. And finally, as we all continue to juggle our multiple roles and navigate through the period, remember those attributes that are core to our survival. Nurturing support to yourself and others. Practice care and understanding, and always learn from your mistakes and failures. But most importantly, love the challenge and make sure you continue to pay it forward with everything you do. So in closing, to all our finalists and rising stars, your determination and brave approach to your businesses have my utmost respect. I salute you all for the change agents and barrier breakers that you are. So, as we contemplate the future, the enormity of the unknown, the anticipation of change, and the apprehension that surely exists in each one of us, the one thing we can control is ensuring that with every word spoken, with every action taken, with every hand stretched out, we do it with kindness. Thank you.
As we've been reminded, we are 7 times more likely to retain the negative. So I'm going to ask you, please, to give another warm round of applause for both Susie and Enid. Please. Thank you for reminding us not only of the challenges that face us, but of our shared and common humanity. Santam's many years of supporting women in business in South Africa have given the company valuable insight into the potential pitfalls of the entrepreneurial journey. Santam understands that the first 1,000 days of running a business are the hardest. And if you're still in business by day 1,001, they believe you are in it for the long haul. So with just under 1,000 entries for the awards, we are proud to introduce you to the 9 finalists. They represent our country in all of its diversity, with sectors ranging from healthcare to communications, the green technology to interior designs. The nominees for the Rising Star Awards. These young go-getters are all under 30. Their businesses are still within its first 1,000 days, but we as the judges believe that their businesses will flourish way beyond them. The nominees for the Rising Star Awards are
In my final year of medical school in 2016, I realized an overwhelming problem that doctors in a hospital setting in South Africa really struggle to keep track of where their patients are and what tasks need to happen for each of their patients every day. I created a diary called the Internship Organizer that I was making for my own internship, but it grew from strength to strength, from a passion project into my first entrepreneurial venture. But I realized that the problem was not yet completely solved, and doctors were starting to use apps and generic task management apps to keep track of their patients in a hospital setting. And I realized, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? So I decided I was the perfect person to be brave and create an app for the doctors of South Africa, an app that's proudly made for doctors by doctors. WardWorks is a free app designed for doctors and healthcare workers working in a hospital setting in South Africa that helps a team of doctors keep track of where their patients are and what tasks need to happen for each of them every day. This allows a team of doctors or healthcare workers to share the workload amongst their team. And we hope to reduce physician burnout in doing so, as well as improve the outcomes for the patients that these frontline workers work with on a daily basis. One piece of advice that I would give to somebody starting their entrepreneurial journey is to speak to your customers. Speak to the people who have the need that you're trying to solve. You have to understand the problem in their own words and how they have experienced the problem hands-on or on the ground. Don't assume that you understand the problem, or don't assume that your solution is the solution they're looking for. Understand them fully before you decide on how you're going to solve the problem they have. Being involved in this process has been an amazing experience, and it's really nice to be seen in this way. Sometimes the entrepreneurial journey is really lonely and it can be a roller coaster. So winning an award like this is the validation that a young entrepreneur sometimes needs to just know that you're on the right track.
Coming from a very big family, being the first graduate, I had to look for something that will actually benefit everyone, not just me. And then also looking at my community was also things that inspired me to start Cookreen. So they used to collect waste and then hire transport to transport it to town, and then they had to pay money. And then I decided, what if I bring this closer to home, closer to them? By so doing, I'll be reducing cost of transport and then creating employment for them again, and then making a living for myself as well. So basically, my family and my community inspired me because I believe everything should start home, and then I escalate to outside. Cookreen Hands is a buyback center where communities come and sell their recyclables. So our business model is very simple. We buy already sorted waste, and then we bale, and then we sell. We work with manufacturing companies such as Sapi, Hulamine, and other plastic manufacturing companies. That's what we do in Cookreen. We are all about environment, promoting recycling. We are actually the first step in the recycling project as a whole. To somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur, I would say the reason you started should be valid enough for you to keep going. Because in this industry that we are at, in the business journey, there are so many challenges. So you have to have a valid foundation that will actually push you to stay, even if it's going to get tough or obstacles will come floating your way. But then your reason should be valid enough for you to hang on, for you to push, and for you to realize your passion. So I would say your reason to start should be the reason you keep pushing and pushing until you are where you want to be. Winning the awards on the Santam Women of the Future for me would be a great achievement. It would actually create a platform for me to showcase or to make everyone understand that in this business world, you don't have to think outside your community. You just have to look around you and see, what am I going to use in order to put food on my table and also to create employment for others. It will actually stress that with just waste material, you can actually run a formal and a very profitable business.
So what inspired me to start Dial a Legal Assistant was actually the economic standing of South Africa. I found myself being like many law graduates who spend a lot of years in university studying to get their qualification. However, when it's time to actually find employment, the job prospects just don't look that good. It took me a very long time to find a law firm to actually serve my articles at. And when I finally did find that law firm, my stay there was very short-lived, and I had to subsequently leave. And I realized that I have to find a way to make my degree work for me, essentially. So I took the skills that I've learned, I took the qualification that I've got, I took the very little experience that I had, and I decided that I'm actually going to start freelancing at law firms and just let them know, listen, if you need extra help, I'm here to help whenever you need it. And then I realized there's actually a market for my services, and I then recruited additional legal assistants to join me in actually assisting companies and law firms firms and government entities. So basically, we provide temporary staffing solutions to law firms or companies in their legal departments, or even government institutions that have a lot of legal backlogs. I would give 2 pieces of advice to an aspiring young entrepreneur. The first is you need to make sure that your business model is viable. You need to make sure that your business model is feasible. And once you've established that, I would advise that you actually need to be very resilient, because there will be a lot of resistance. There'll be a lot of resistance to you actually finding breakthrough, and you're going to have to really believe that you are the person that can do what you're proposing to do. You have to really believe that you've got what it takes, and you have to really believe that the services that you offer are going to make a difference to your target market or even just society in general. Winning the Santam Rising Star Award would mean that I get the opportunity to have more access to opportunities for unemployed law graduates. It would really translate as me gaining some sort of credibility in the legal industry, because the legal industry is very traditional, and because of that, not a lot of new ways of doing things are easily accepted. So winning this opportunity would mean for me and my company that we have access to creating more job opportunities for law graduates who are very deserving and just waiting for a chance just to really discover their own potential.
Congratulations to all our Rising Star finalists as we continue to announce our social entrepreneurs. Now, these women are 30 years and older, and their NPO, or social enterprises, have survived the first 1,000 days. They are already making a real difference in her community. The finalists are...
I'm the founder of Chic Mamas Do Care, a South African volunteer-based social enterprise based on a circular economy. We are selling pre-loved, good quality clothing in good condition, and we also swap for charity. We started in our home, and this is our 12th year of operation. And we distributed, to date, we distributed 8.3 million rand towards literacy, numeracy, and mainly early childhood development projects, aftercare programs, school readiness, dance, art, therapy, and similar very vital projects in very impoverished areas of South Africa. We also support preschool makeovers, and currently we are actually working on 3 renovations for very rundown preschools in different townships. We operate in 3 different locations. We have shops in Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg, and the projects stay within the local district or community. So each community where we are present supports local projects. It was always important to me to, whatever I do, to base my mission on the 3 pillars of sustainable development, which is the social impact, the economic impact, and the environmental impact. The people, planet, and profit. In that sense, I'm very pleased that I achieved something which actually works on all 3 levels. It's a huge honor. It would be a huge honor to win this award, because we worked so hard over 12 years. We don't do this for any rewards or awards. We do it because we really believe what we do, and we are incredibly passionate about what we do. This would mean an honor of trust, that people see what we do. They see the transparency. They see the purpose behind all the work we do.
Design 26 Foundation provides free sewing skills accredited FP and emceed accredited training to teenage mothers and underprivileged girls. We also provide hope of a second chance, hope of employment, and hope of restoring dignity to young girls in our community. The difference that we make in our community is that as much as it is looking like we're providing teenage mothers with a skill, we are also giving their children an opportunity and hope of a better future. Through this, we are stopping the cycle of teenage pregnancies, drug and alcohol abuse, and also giving these mothers a second chance to integrate back into the community and giving them an opportunity to become self-sustainable. I was never focused on being a social entrepreneur. It was only after I lost my mom, who was a renowned designer and dressmaker in our local community, and she always wanted me to follow in her footsteps. It was only after she passed away, and 3 months later, my brother, that I discovered my gift and talent. And when I started Design 26, I used to give a matric ball dress to a teenager every year as part of the company's social responsibility. And that's when I just knew, you know, a matric ball dress, donating a matric ball dress was not gonna just do it for somebody in the long term. And I started Design 26 Foundation. Winning the Santam Social Entrepreneur Award would mean that we would be one step closer to achieving our goal of moving into bigger premises and affecting or impacting more girls in our community. It would also mean that we would be creating more employment for women in our community. It would mean that we would contribute positively to women in our community through employment and job creation and alleviating poverty.
So I run Girl Code, which is a social enterprise that is focused on empowering young girls and women through technology. Essentially, we offer skills development programs that focus on training the youth, unemployed women, with coding and robotic skills so that they can get jobs in the tech industry, in particular as software engineers. As Girl Code, we aim to alleviate the unemployment rise in the country. I think we are all aware that unemployment is at an all-time high, and one of the contributing reasons to this is the lack of equivalent skills that the labor market is looking for. So what we do essentially is provide these young women with skills, technology skills, and also provide them with opportunities to actually gain work experience and permanent jobs. And a good example of this is a partnership that we had with a company in the UK that ended up employing 8 of our Girl Coders who are now living in the UK. They're able to provide for their families, and they're able to be, economically viable both in this country and in the country that they're currently living in. I think growing up, I've always had a sense of giving back to my community. Even before starting Girl Code, I had a non-profit organization that was focused on going back into our various communities and teaching maths and science. So I think being a social entrepreneur has always been with me, combining, obviously making profits, but for good, and making sure that we're empowering young people in the country is something that I'm passionate about. It's something that's in my DNA, and I just think over time, it's just, showing itself in different ways. But yeah, I believe that, I was born to be a social entrepreneur. I was born to help out the community and to do good. If I was to win the Santam Social Entrepreneur Award, it would definitely, give us a bigger platform as an organization to create more impact. We've realized that the more people know about what we're doing, the more people being aware of technology and the importance of it, then more people can kind of get the right skills to gain employment. And I think this platform in particular is a great way for us to get that visibility, because we have aspirations to grow as an organization and to reach more young girls and women across the country.
How absolutely awesome. Congratulations to our social entrepreneurs. Our next category, Women of the Future. Now, these female entrepreneurs are 30 years and older. They survived the first 1,000 days of business, and they are well on their way to establishing an empire. And the finalists are...
What inspired me to start my business was really having my first child. When my daughter was born, I was a retail buyer for Woolworths. I had taken a full 6-month maternity leave package, and when my daughter was born, I realized I couldn't go back to the 9-to-5 of corporate. So I took my hobby, which was photography, and I started taking photographs for businesses and converting that photography into wall art. And slowly but surely, we moved into more large format printing, which at the time had just kind of entered the decor industry, and from there grew into a wall design business. I've always loved business since I was a little girl. I was always selling things to make money as a means of feeling independent. Winning this award, I think, more than anything would be about the title. Santam Women of the Future holds kind of everything that I'm passionate about. Number one, it would mean acknowledgement by a corporate of entrepreneurship. Number two, it would mean the acknowledgement of female entrepreneurship, of which I believe is the key driving force necessary in an economy like ours, which is resource-starved. I think women know how to take money and make it go further. So it's a huge passion of mine. And thirdly, the term future. I would love to think of myself as somebody that is future-orientated, and I'm excited about the future. I have 2 young daughters, and I'm excited about the prospect of a world that's changing for the better for women in business.
I grew up in a township called Temba in Hammanskraal, and after I graduated, I really noticed a lot of the businesses that I grew up knowing and that I really looked up to throughout my childhood had either closed down or they were really struggling to survive. So it really got me thinking about what does it really take to build legacy businesses. We provide business mentorship and coaching to small businesses, and also provide business skills training. I think I've always been business-minded. Since childhood, I always saw myself running my own business. And I started my first business at the age of 19 when I was in my 2nd year of varsity. Winning the Santam Women of the Future Award would provide me and the organization a bigger platform to also just push the transformation and legacy agenda. I think it's important for us as a nation to focus on building businesses that can grow and contribute to the economy. So I think winning this award for me would create that platform to inspire more women and to encourage others to have the courage to pursue their passion.
I am a career coach, and at FAIRLADY Consulting, what we do is career coaching. We connect people with where they are to where it is that they're wanting to be in their careers, and we do this in South Africa, in Botswana, in Rwanda, in Nigeria, and of course the United States of America. What inspired me to start FAIRLADY Consulting almost 10 years ago was an experience I had as a young executive. I was sitting in an extended exco surrounded by people who didn't look like me, did not come from Africa, were not female, and I happened to be the youngest person in the room. I was completely hit by imposter syndrome. So to counter this, I looked for coaching, but I could not find a coach who came from Africa, was a woman, and had had enough exposure into what I was in essence facing. So all my coaches could sort of understand, but they couldn't resonate with what it is that I was actually facing. It was in that moment I recognized a problem, and I decided to start Hesed Consulting because I wanted African women across the continent, as they walk into boardrooms, to be able to be coached by people who truly understand their frame of reference and the challenges they face in trying to climb the corporate ladder. Was I always business-minded? That's a very good question. I suppose I always had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. I grew up in a home where my grandfather ran several businesses, from property to a spaza shop. And I recall being about, I must have been about standard 4, standard 5, and I quickly realized that my pocket money wasn't enough. So I started selling sweets at school, and then I got another child in my mother's school, because my mom's a teacher, to sell sweets for me. So I suppose I've always been in the business of making sure I have a little bit of extra coin, which probably drove my entrepreneurial spirit. Winning the Santam Women of the Future Awards for me would be an incredibly humbling experience. It means my peers, my colleagues, and other women within the country recognize the hard work we've put in for the past 10 years. You know, winning an award allows you to take in the vista. I think what Dr. Nelson Mandela said it well, when he said, after climbing a great hill, we realize that there are so many more hills to climb, but we get to take a moment to enjoy the vista. And that's what this award would mean to me.
And again, congratulations to our Women of the Future finalists. In a moment, our judges will be navigating the tricky issue of building and maintaining your brand or your team identity when your staff are working from home. But before we get to that topic, we've lost a lot during COVID, haven't we? But some of us have also gained. I gained weight. Exhibit A, 5, I lie. Tell the truth, shame the devil, 6, 7, 8 kilos. 8 kilos heavier. When I was younger, like you ladies in the office, my body kind of resembled a band, you know. Everything was tight, it was harmonizing, it was synchronizing. These days, it looks as though each part of my body is trying to pursue its own solo career. But so be it. Up first, our panel discussion, I'd like to talk to Prof. Thuli. We're going to talk about the epic leadership qualities that we need to develop if we are to navigate a lifequake like COVID with some measure of agility and resilience. How do we do that, Thuli?
Well, firstly, just thank you for the privilege to say a few words. And for that, I thank Santam and FAIRLADY. Well, a lifequake is like an earthquake. When there's an earthquake, everything falls apart, and in the end, we are traumatized. To be able to survive an earthquake, you need the same skills to survive a lifequake, which is when something like COVID or a company finding itself in financial trouble or any other trouble, your head spins, your family life is in tatters, and it really is a lifequake. And the question is, how do you do that? And you've already indicated what we can do. We need to be agile in responding to the fast-changing environment, and you need to be resilient, because just like in an earthquake, you could fall. When you have a lifequake, you could fall, and how fast you rebound depends on your resilience. And we started working on the epic leadership model at the Power Protector, and you do know how many lifequakes we faced as a team at the Power Protector South Africa. And we have perfected the model at the Tumor Foundation to the point that we offer training on agility and resilience in time of uncertainty. And I do know one of my colleagues, Kosi, is going to talk about VUCA, so I'm not going to go into VUCA. I'm going to focus on what are the core skills that you need. Of course, you need agility and resilience. How do you acquire that? We've come to the conclusion that you need to be ethical, purpose-driven, impact-conscious, and a commitment to serve. So when we think ethics, we think honesty. But that's not the only ethic we need. Well, we do need honesty, because if there was no honesty, we wouldn't be where we are with some of the problems in the country: state capture, corruption, PPE, stolen money, and things like that. So yes, I'm not suggesting that honesty is not important, but I want to discuss other aspects of ethics, of ethical leadership that will take us through life quakes. One is taking responsibility. I mean, we've listened to the women who are going to be honored today, Doreen. One thing for sure about them is that the next move is always yours. When people who succeed through life quakes are people who the next move is always mine. You don't throw your hands up in the air and say, they did this to me. I mean, because life is not the way it should be. It is the way it is, and people are not the way they should be. They are the way they are. So you take responsibility and move things forward in such a way that you can achieve the goal you want despite these sudden changes in life. But the second thing is solidarity. Lean on others and let others lean on you. Again, if you look at how we've survived COVID as nations, there's been a lot of leaning on each other and letting others lean on us. Government elaborated some services, but it was also civil society that stood up. Otherwise, a lot of people would have been killed, not by the pandemic, but hunger. The third thing is compliance. And I hope every woman here is complying. And that's the ethic of really just doing the right thing, even if no one is watching. A lot of businesses could not access government services, the TERS or the fiscal support program, because people were not giving SARS what SARS deserves, paying UIF and things like that. So it's important to comply as a business, or to comply with just all of the rules of life, so that when storms hit those. Then self-care, which Susie spoke about. And then purpose-driven, just always focus on your goals. When you focus on your goals, it means that when what you are trying to do changes, then you don't have to stick with that business. You will see, for example, a lot of some of the young people, some of the people that we've spoken about here, they pivoted or diversified. Because if what you are working on is not working, focus on the goals you're trying to achieve instead of the method you are using to get there. That's part of being agile and resilient. Impact consciousness, I've got a quick story there about a bird that wanted to eat the fruit at the top, and my son told me that story. And a buffalo bull told it to get to the top, eat my dung. So the bird was tempted and it ate the dung. And it really did fly to the top. And this bird was a guinea fowl. They don't fly that high. So with the dung, it flew to the top. And while it was at the top, a farmer saw lunch and went into his house, picked up a gun, shot the guinea fowl, and had lunch. So the moral of the story in terms of when there's crisis, there's a tendency to want to take shortcuts. Don't be tempted. Be careful, because BS can get you to the top, but it won't keep you there. So the last one is commitment to serve. This one is extremely important for our headspace. If you're doing your job, not just for money, you're doing it because it gives you a sense of significance, because you are providing a service to humanity. When things go wrong, you have something to hang on to. And Liza Defenta and many other women who have climbed Kilimanjaro will tell you that when the storms hit, when things go hard, it's the sense of purpose, the sense of service that keeps you going. Thank you.
Wow. What was that again, Prof? BS? I nearly said the word. There's so much that we would have wanted to unpack there. For example, on the issue of compliance, yeah, we've unfortunately run out of time, but on the issue of compliance, I remember last year you made a statement, because our government, every Sunday night we were having those family meetings, right? And we were getting rules, and you said rules are only effective as far as they are reasonable. There should be a reasonable likelihood or expectation or chance of people actually complying with those rules. They can't just be taken out of the ether.
Absolutely, and many of them have been broken because people couldn't relate to them. But I think, again, if you're a woman in business, try and comply with them, because you never know what's going to happen to you if you break them.
Absolutely. A quick question from our audience. It comes from Fathia, and she asks, how do you build rapport with your team members? Who would like to, or shall we pause that question for a bit later, when we are getting to that, getting around to that specific topic? In the meantime, I think, Susie, we're going to have a quick chat with you. All of us recently, I think, were impacted, was it a week ago or so, when WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook all went down at the same time? We didn't know what to do with ourselves during those 6 lost hours. Susie, so how do we go about building trust with our brands and also just selecting the right technology?
I think it's such an interesting thing that's happened, Doreen, with lockdown. It really is. I mean, Enid and I were talking just before. And one of the things that's happened, for example, is that people take less sick leave now than they used to when there was an office. And it's quite interesting that that happens. And there's been a whole lot of theorizing that it's because they're not on public transport and all of that. But actually, I think it's because people are so scared of losing their jobs in this economic climate that they push themselves beyond the point that they should. And I think part of managing a team now is to keep communication open at all times, and also to understand that you appointed those people because you trusted them. You trusted them to do their job. Don't worry about the timing. Don't harass them after hours. Respect their time. Respect working hours. I mean, I am getting emails from my team at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I say, no, this is not the time. You can't just, work can't take over your life. So you have to actually, I think, instill those boundaries in your team. And that's part of having respect, and it's part of working together as a team. So that would be the first thing, I think, recognizing that, and that they need to have time off. They should have time off. It's not right to work all the time.
Yes, I actually overheard the two of you saying that sometimes you're having an online meeting and there's actually somebody in a meeting who has COVID, who can hardly speak.
Yes,
they
of course
feel
you
that
were
they
saying
can't take the time off because they don't want to be, you know.
No, it's crazy. If you're sick, be sick. Don't go to work. Just because, in fact, somebody said, it's not that we are working from home, it's that we're sleeping in the office. And I think you've really got to guard against that, and you've got to make your team guard against that. Having said that, there is also an issue of making people feel that they're part of a common purpose. And there is a lot of technology that can help there. Yes. My son was doing an internship at a computer programming company, and they were all on Slack. I think many of us are on Slack, their teams are on Slack. And it's a very good, it's just an example, there are many of them, but it's a very good forum because you can have a very informal chat, you can have a quick video conversation with anybody in your team, but you don't necessarily always have to be on video. And you can also have a much more formal tracking of where work is at any given stage. And I think that there are many of those, and they should really be investigated. I think the importance of a regular meeting can't be overstated. I'm very bad at this, but I do think that people should meet with their teams kind of once a week. Video, you know, Zoom is absolutely terrible, but it serves its purpose. And you've just got to keep in touch. Luckily in magazines, we've got somebody called a traffic controller, as they do in advertising. I'm sure many, you know, many other businesses. But this person's job is she tracks where everything is. So where everything is in the process and who's doing what and where the delays are and all of that stuff. And she, because of that position, she also knows, she checks in with people's emotional state. So she'll know whether somebody's not doing something and there's a reason for it. And I think that it's a very important role, because it's easy to just isolate yourselves and not have somebody who's got an overview. So that's also a critical thing. Team building is difficult. There are also very good programs that do that. They organize kind of virtual team building, and you can play games, you can play poker, you can, you know, you can do a whole lot of things that are really interesting as a team, and you can have prizes. And I think you must remember to reward and compliment your team members. It's also easy because we feel so harassed all the time. It's also easy to overlook achievement and just think, okay, well, the job's done. Thank goodness the job is done. But actually to say, in my case, say to somebody, that was a really good story, or well done. You've got to take the time to do that. I think that's it. I think we're running out of time, but I can carry on forever.
Yeah, just to sum up, reward and recognition. Always
Completely.
Find opportunities.
And connection and respect for space and time.
Well said. Now...
Thanks. We should have been respect for space.
To the point of reward and recognition. Thank you so much, Thule. Now, branding has always been really, really important. But Dawn, how important do you think branding is now in this digital age?
So, Doreen, I think that's an excellent question and so pertinent, particularly if you think back what we've all experienced over the last 18 months. And I think the one thing in common that we've all experienced is disruption in our lives, disruption in our businesses. And I think leaders have a whole new challenge that they've been faced with, and brands are no different. But talking about disruption, Doreen, I just want to maybe qualify a point, because I don't want Craig Jacobs to rush out on Sunday morning and have me in the Sunday Times that Dawn was arrested and put into Umlazi police station. Can I qualify that I was a disruptor?
Please
okay, I was a disruptor. So I was 21 and I was a hustler. I needed business, and the only way to get business at the airport was to steal my competitors' customers. And they got so angry that I was stealing their lunch and taking their business away, they had me arrested. I was put into a van and taken to Umlazi police station and arrested. And you know something that made me so resilient? That changed my life. And you talk about life quakes, Thule. That was my life quake. And I think it's similar to what we've all faced over the last couple of months, this life quake. That was my life quake. That made me determined to be a successful entrepreneur and to continue hustling. Look, I was very much more careful, because Umlazi police station, if any of you have been there, is not the best place to be. However, getting back to branding, I think the importance of branding is more important than ever, because we are faced with just so much noise, so much clutter. Social media, and all of us being glued to our TVs more so than we have in the past, are exposed to just so many brands. And the average consumer, I read the other day, the average consumer or the average person is impacted or exposed to 5,000 brands a day, which is like, that's just like unheard of. So how do you as a brand stand out? And I think that's really what I want to talk about. How do you stand out? Because it's easy to stand up, but how do you stand out? And I think it goes back to trust, which I think everybody has spoken about. Being adaptable, understanding your customers. I think that's so important. customer centricity is something Enid spoke about. And I think a lot of companies pay lip service to customer centricity. But your customer needs to be the focal point, the center of your brand. Everything that your brand promises must be around the customer. So it really needs to be customer-centric. You need to really stay close to your customers. And I think digital transformation has made that so much easier for marketers and people branding, because you've got things like reviews, you've got things like blogs. It's more engaging and more interactive. So people can actually say this was a good experience. So we all know customer experience, which is the CX, customer experience is king. Now, the new thing now that everyone is talking about is the digital experience, the CX of your brand. You know, how effortless was that interaction? And how relevant was it? I mean, all of us know when we engage via devices or online that it needs to be simple, because otherwise I'm just going to go to the shop. It needs to be simple. And two brands that I'd really like to just talk about, Takealot for me is unbelievable, and their value proposition is the smarter way. Takealot is about shopping anything you can imagine. And I mean, that's power. And it is, it's true, from a drill to diapers to beauty products. I mean, it's just a range of different products. And it's so easy and simple. Their branding is excellent. Their branding stands out. And so too Uber. Uber, we know the brand promise is consistency. And everybody knows that your experience, I mean, we all wait 3 to 4 minutes, 5 minutes at the most. So your brand needs to be consistent. You need to be, you need to make sure that your customers trust the promise that you put out there. And you need to make sure that you can deliver on that promise, because it's no good just putting things out there. And the new ways of branding in terms of blogging has become the big thing. I mean, if you look in America and all over the world, blogs have actually taken like preference and become such a major thing. Videos, you know, so one needs to use your imagination, be different to be able to stand out. So yes, to your question, and I know we spoke a little bit about disruption, but your brands are going to be disrupted. And I think you need to have the agility and the adaptability to move and be flexible according to what the consumer and the demands and the times that we're facing. Because in the past, Susie, you will know, if people ran a campaign in the magazine, they'd run a campaign for 6 months. You don't run a campaign on social media for more than a day. A 40% discount today, everything is instant, everything is now, everything is fast. So that's really, you know, my 5 cents insight in terms of branding.
Wonderful. Yeah, and it's important to stand out for the right reasons, because in this day and age of social media, it is so easy, you know, for that negative impression to be amplified. Kosi, you have introduced me to 2 new terms in my vocabulary, that of black swans and the VUCA world, which Thuli also alluded to earlier. So what is the VUCA world, and define black swans, please?
So I'm so relieved that the good Prof. Thuli here did mention it, because, you know, she comes carrying the credibility that it really, that just goes with it. So black swans are described as unforeseen and unpredictable events. It's an event that you couldn't have possibly have foreseen. I think we would all define the COVID-19 situation as a black swan, even though we have been told that there were signs, but definitely the devastation, unprecedented as it was, of the event in its totality, is definitely a black swan event. And VUCA touches in the main on the points that the good Prof mentioned earlier. It is a term that was originated by the US Army. So this is very important because it kind of like gives you the thinking behind it in the late 80s. And it means a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. In the early 2000s, a Harvard Business School professor, Bill George, tweaked it to volatile, uncertain, complex, but agile world. So, and the agile part of it is what I think everybody here has been emphasizing, the need to adapt and as fast as you can, and the need for one and one's business to be as agile as one can in order to face the volatile and uncertain and complex world, which you do not have control over. The one word or concept that you do as a person have control over, as Prof has said, is how you respond to that. She says the next move is yours. So you have to literally be in a position to make your next move. Now, the Chinese symbol for crisis is a mixture of two symbols. It is a mixture of the danger symbol and of the opportunity symbol. So they view a crisis as an opportunity as much as it is an unprecedented danger that you might not have seen. So never indeed let a good crisis go to waste. Always learn and treat it as an opportunity to actually move yourself to the next hill. The one thing that Susie's FAIRLADY and my True Love, what we do on a daily basis is to speak to women. In the main, we do have some male readers, bless them, we love you guys. But in the main, we do speak to women, and we've all here spoken at length, Susie has, and it on the role that women play in the world. I come from a generation of who look up to the first women executives, the first to ever do it. That's the generation that my generation looks to. And I'm told of that generation, they had to be strong. They had to display some masculine qualities because they had to defy the traditional thinking that they were boxed into. So a woman of that generation had to act in a particular way that in a lot of ways went against their natural and authentic selves. What COVID has taught us is indeed our nurturing natures as women is what is needed. Our softness, the soft skills that we for many, many years, and perhaps a generation or two, were taught will not push you to greatness, propel you to greatness, to being tough. All of that we've seen, they don't yield long-term sustainable results. You said, Doreen, of the nations that have managed to get ahead of this COVID pandemic and actually do better are led by a woman. Why? We are natural caregivers. But for a very long time, we were taught you need to shut that down and wear your professional suit and come to work and put on your face. We now have learned over the past 2 years or so that no, we must be our true authentic selves, embrace our softness, our caring nature, and show up as our true selves every day. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So well said, Khosi, and just building on what you've said and continuing with the need for soft skills and nurturing. I'm sure that most of us have struggled at some time or another during this past year and a half with mental health issues, and I know how hard COVID impacted me, and I lost 2 very close friends to depression at the beginning of COVID. So, Enid, please help us understand what employee care and support should like in a world that has experienced a prolonged and protracted state of grief and trauma.
Thanks, Doreen, for saving the hardest question for last and then for giving it to me. We've started talking about trauma in such a normalized way. And can I just say, it's not normal. Trauma is not normal. We have either personally been afflicted by a life-ending disease, or somebody very close to us has encountered this. That's traumatic. We have encountered death very close to us, and that is traumatic. We have lost 2 income families, or sometimes both income, and challenging our financial well-being is trauma. Relationships, possibly due to lockdown in the same house, have dissolved. And divorce, broken relationships are, again, a common state for us. So what happens when, in a normal state of affairs, when something traumatic happens, there's an adrenalized physiological response in our body, right? And it's fight or flight. And it enables us to get strong in order to encounter it, to move past it or move right through it. Over a long period of time, high levels of adrenaline in our system has a direct impact on endorphins and serotonin, our ability to sleep well, our ability to manage anxiety, and our ability to feel happiness. So just take the combination of those 3 things. I don't sleep well. I can't manage stress and anxiety at a manageable level. And the happiness that I used to feel with general pleasures in life are now muted. The state on our depression, the state on our ability to be productive, to be impactful in any arena, never mind the work arena, is severely curtailed by that. So let's go back to, what does it feel like in a work environment? What did corporate South Africa do? We went into lockdown, and what did we all decide? I'm going to show you that I am the most productive. I work the most, the longest hours. I am amazing. Why? And as Susie said, possibly because you don't want to lose your job, but more probably because you're fighting for survival. There's so much we can't control in our lives. The working life is something I can actually give 24/7 to. So you neglect other aspects of your lives. You know, with our kids, we have screen time of no more than an hour a day. It's 2 in my house, but an hour a day is what I read, is very good. What are we doing? We have 12 hours a day of screen time. We have 14 hours a day of screen time. What does that do with our ability to socialize, to empathize, to have compassion? Someone's behind a screen. I don't have to display a feeling. I don't have to connect an emotion. I get to step away. I get to end the call and walk away back to my life. So the isolation, the deprivation of human contact, the inability for us to connect. We are social creatures. That social dynamic enables us to innovate. It enables us to empathize. It enables us to draw compassion from and give to. And the fact that it's been neglected for 19 months is something that we will have to recover. So when Facebook, WhatsApp, and Insta went down, long may it go down. End those screen times. Spend time connecting with someone. For my team, we've implemented some very practical, simplistic measures. We have certain periods of time where there's just no meetings. We have flexibility in our working life. So if you have to go do shopping during the day. We've taken our deadlines and our delivery. I hope my CEO is not watching. And we've just said, fine, if we can't make this deadline, we're not going to make this deadline. Is someone going to die if we do not get this report in? We've done mental wellness check-ins on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. And we're giving a lot of attention and time to those discussions. And then finally, we've given people additional leave, forced leave, additional leaves to make sure you can just go, spend time with your family, switch off.
Wow. Such valuable insights you shared there, Enid, because we're all living in a state of, PTSD. And we actually haven't even touched on gender-based violence that has rocketed during this pandemic. That's the twin pandemic. But right now, we're going to take a few more questions from the audience. I think this first one has actually been dealt with quite well, about building support support amongst teams. Does anybody want to add anything to address?
There's only one thing I just want to say about that,
Yeah.
and that is with a new hire, when you're working from home, I think you really have to be very careful about letting them know exactly who their mentor is. Because I think it's easy to just abandon those people, and they don't understand the culture, and they don't understand the team, and it's easy to leave them behind and make them fail, basically, by not including them. So I think they really have to be watched out for, is new hires.
Yes, I think that.
And if I can just add to that, a simple telephone call
Yeah.
to your team. Like, you know, people don't pick up the telephone anymore, and people are saying, I just want to speak to somebody, but they say, okay, we'll arrange a Zoom. Pick up the telephone, have a one-to-one engagement with somebody.
I agree.
So important.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I think that another thing that we could add here is involvement. When people are traumatized in spaces such as we're in now, there's that feeling of disconnection, which I think Enid and Kosi were speaking about, and I think it started with Susie. And it becomes important that decisions are not made arbitrarily, or even if you're making them rationally, involve your people so that they feel a sense of belonging and they feel that they matter. One book I read recently that's just really good for companies going through trouble is a book by Bob Chapman, who wrote a book, Everybody Matters. And it just struck him that sometimes we deal with employees worse than we treat our machines. And at a wedding, he just realized that that's somebody's son who's moving from, it was somebody's daughter moving to join a husband, but the husband was also somebody's son going to join this. And it occurred to him that if he were to treat his staff as if they were a family, it would work. It took the company through the 2008 crisis. Instead of the company going down because it was going through a cash flow problem, it rebounded to do even better than it was doing before. And on that note, I would like us to congratulate FAIRLADY and TRUELOVE for making it through the storm. And I've heard in the grapevine about some of the things you've done with your staff to stay on track. And those are the things that we all have to do to stay alive and keep everyone connected.
I think that's wonderful. Wonderful. To our incredible panel of judges, Dawn, Kosi, Enid, Tuli, Susie, I can just say thank you for your personal and practical insight. I know that, you know, I have just learned so much just from these exchanges here this afternoon, and I'm sure that our entrepreneurs have really benefited as well. I could sense that our finalists really found your insights, the content relatable and of great benefit. And I'd now like to ask Susie and Kosi to join me at the podium. We are going to present our finalists with their certificates. Okay, I would now like to call on our judges who are going to have the opportunity of meeting and congratulating our finalists personally, and I'm going to announce them in alphabetical order, starting with, and ladies and gentlemen, please, let's all give them the recognition that we just spoke about. Right? 7 times more than what we would normally do. The first one is Abigail Sheridan of Chic Mamas Do Care.
Thank you. Oh, congratulations, Abigail. Really.
I'm so honored.
Thank you. Okay, sit down. Thank you. Well done.
Well done, Abigail. Let's have a warm hand now for Ayanda Ngalo of Dial a Legal Assistant. Ayanda.
You look amazing.
You look great in that.
Well done.
Thank you so much, Ayanda. Let's hear it now, please, for Kara Saban of Kara Saban Wall Design.
Thank you. Congratulations, Cara. Well done.
Congrats, Kara.
Thank you. Thank you, Kara. Our next certificate has your name on it, Nompilo Nxumalo of Cool Green Hands.
Well done. Me too.
Thank you, Nompilo. Please, let's recognize now Dr. Peter Ann Brown of WardWorks. Thank you, Peter Ann. This next certificate goes to Sibusiso Nomsa Rapekwane of the Transformation Legacy. You are rocking that red suit, Sibusiso. From Design 26 Foundation, please welcome Soraya Williams. Congratulations, Soraya. Welcome on stage now, Vumile Msweli of Geset Consulting.
Nigerian or not.
Well done, Vumile. And finally, Zandile Mkwanazi of Girl Code. Now that you've met them all, how about another warm round of applause for all of our finalists? Our judges are now going to remain on stage because we're about to announce the winners. Our first award is the Reader's Choice Award. It's a very special one because it is voted on by the public. Susie Brokenshaw, the editor of Fair Lady, and Kosi Zwani Zigutra, editor of True Love, will hand over the first Reader's Choice Award. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rox. By the way, this is Rox. We referred to her earlier. She orchestrated this whole ceremony from abroad last year. This is our rock star. The 2021 Santam Reader's Choice Award goes to Vumile Msweli of Geset Consulting. Ah. And as your name denotes, we agree, Vumile. Well done. And now, thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Kosi. And now, the Santam Women of the Future Award winners in association with Fair Lady and True Love. Now, the winners receive a cash prize from Santam, plus a full-page ad in Fair Lady or True Love to promote their business, social enterprise or NPO, and our invaluable mentorship with one of our judges, A 1-year supply of African extract rooibos skincare products from our beauty sponsor worth 3,500 rands. A Get Smarter online short course worth 11,900 rands. A women's branded watch worth 6,599 rands from American Swiss Fine Jewelers. Leather accessories worth 5,000 rands from Zemp. Business printing worth 5,000 from Lithotech. A Samsonite Prodigy spinner expandable 55 centimeter carry-on worth 5,000 rands. And I'd now like to call on Dawn Nathan-Jones. She is going to hand over the Rising Star Award. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2021 Santam Rising Star Award in association with FAIRLADY and TRUELOVE is Dr. Peter Ann Brown of Wardworks. I'd like to request Tudy Madonsela, please, to hand over the Social Entrepreneur Award. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Dawn. I'm so sorry. Auto cue, you're ahead of me. I apologize, Peter. It's your moment, Dawn. Thank you. Thank you so much.
There, you can take photos.
Moving on now to the Social Entrepreneur Award. The winner of the 2021 Santam Social Entrepreneur Award in association with FAIRLADY and TRUELOVE is... Let's hear it, please, for Zandile Mkwanazi of Girl Code. Girl Code aims to get more women into the tech industry. It facilitates the advancement of their skills through various training and outreach programs. We know that the digital divide remains an agendaed one in the midst of this pandemic when so much happens remotely. 3.9 billion people remain offline, most of whom are women and girls. So we cannot overemphasize your work ever. Thank you so much. Zandile. I'm sure you've prepared something to share with us. You haven't? You haven't?
No, but I'll just say something.
Okay, please, if you would.
All right. Because I think the doctor should also say something.
Yes,
but thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I think the work that we do fighting for young girls to be part of the digital world can't go unnoticed. And it's just a pleasure to be amongst like so many amazing women that recognize what we're doing. And I hope that, you know, in 2030, I'll be standing in stages like this where I talk about 10 million women that we've reached and just showing the impact that one child, especially one girl child, can have in the world. So thank you.
Thank you. Well done. And I think, Zandile, you're so absolutely right. This was a last-minute change that we made, but it would be remiss. Peter Ann, come on, say something to the people. Come on.
I thought I was going to get away with not saying anything. It's an honor to be out of scrubs for a bit and have a little bit of glitz and glam. So thank you very much to the organizers, the sponsors. We feel so noticed. We feel so seen. We feel so encouraged. And I think I've brushed shoulders with incredible women that I've made friends that we're really planning our next ventures together. So that's, I think, what it's all about. I love what was said about purpose and focusing on our clients, and my clients are my purpose. The frontline workers of South Africa are my inspiration, and I will continue to serve them as best as I can, and it's been an honor. And I just believe in youth-led solutions to change the shape of South African healthcare, and it's an honor to lead the way. I hope that women especially, but young healthcare workers of South Africa will step up and innovate for the African space, because we deserve youth-led African innovations.
And thank you so much. Thank you for being such a wonderful example of one such youth-led African innovation. Right now, I'd like to call on Enid Lizamore, the Group Executive Head of Human Resources at Santam. She is going to hand over the Woman of the Future Award. The Woman of the Future wins 100,000 rands in cash from Santam, a full-page advert in FAIRLADY or TRUELOVE to promote their business, social enterprise or NPO, an hour's invaluable mentorship with one of the judges, a one-year supply of African extract Rooibos skincare products from our beauty sponsor worth 3,500 rand, a Get Smarter online short course worth 11,900 rand, a women's branded watch worth 6,599 rand from American Swiss fine jewelers, leather accessories worth 5,000 rand from Zemp, business printing worth 5,000 rands from Lithotech, a Samsonite Prodigy spinner expandable 55 centimeter carry-on worth 5,000 rands. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner is the Santam Woman of the Future Award for 2021 in association with FAIRLADY and TRUELOVE is Cara 7 of Cara 7 World Design. They warned us, but you could never anticipate that.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the shock of that burst has just thrown me, and so has this completely thrown me. Mostly because I really didn't think I had much of a chance based on my competition. They are amazing, amazing, skilled, intelligent, ambitious women that have blown me away. So as I was sitting there and I was actually listening to the amazing speakers, I mean, these women that are sitting here are my heroes, I have to be honest. Nothing has ever made me as nervous as the few hours leading up to my Zoom interview with them. Nothing has made me. I've stood in boardrooms with lots of men before, but having to be interviewed by these 5 women was beyond intimidating because I respect them so much. But as I was sitting there, I was thinking how I'm sitting here in a corporate setting. This event is sponsored by corporates, Media24, Santam. Sorry, I'm shaking because I'm in shock. And I had to leave corporate. I had to leave a job I absolutely loved when I had my first child, because there really was no option for either the 9-to-5 or full-time mom. And I didn't want to leave corporate. I loved corporate. I loved my job. But I also knew when I held that child in my arms for the first time that I couldn't go back to what was expected of me. And I had to give it up. And the last 15 years has been a slog to build something that the women in my company don't have to make that choice about. They fetch their kids. I can hear the kids screaming in the background. COVID has allowed the curtain to be drawn on the fact that we are all juggling. And for that, I'm grateful for COVID. And I just want to say to any women out there that are experiencing a life quake, that have had to leave a job or have been fired from a job, just start. Just start small. It starts just literally by taking whatever time you have, 2 hours in the evening, 3 hours in the morning before your kids wake up. Just start, because you just never, ever know where it's going to lead you to. So thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you to you women.
Congratulations, Cara. Do yourselves a favor and visit their website. She has taken innovation and wallpaper design to a whole nother level. Please join me now in a final rousing round of applause to all of our winners, each and every one of them truly deserving of the honors bestowed on them today. And we wish them every success in their future endeavors. A big thank you to our title sponsor, Santam, as well as every other sponsor that has come on board. To our panel of judges, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your generosity, and to our audience here in the studio, as well as every one of you online who has joined us today. Thank you. May you continue to lift as you rise. May you always do good as you do well. Thank you, and once again, congratulations to all of you.